Good evening. Welcome to the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Finance Authority regular meeting work session. Today is Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. It is 6:35 p.m. I'll take roll call. Mayor Javier Moreno here. Mayor Pro Tem Camilo Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Rureña.
Here.
Councilmember Gloria Romo. Thank you. And Councilmember Rocio Arreola Fernandez.
Here.
Thank you. Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to AB 361, approved by Governor of California on September 16, 2021, and some of all City Council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference. Let the record reflect that we have Ms. Gloria Romo participating to teleconference. Pursuant to Imperial County Public Health Department guidelines, City Council meetings are not open for public attendance at 100% capacity of City Council chambers, and all person entering City Hall will be required to wear a face mask. Public participation will continue to be available in the following ways. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via live stream at communityspectrum.org live at 6:30 p.m. or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com City of Calexico CA. Members of the public will be able to make public comments in the following ways. In-person comments, submit public comments via email by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, December the 15th, 2021 to our city clerk, Chichi Garcia at calexicoca.gov or via fax to 760-768-2103. Or you may make public comment via Zoom from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device. The webinar ID is 824-3436-8431. The passcode is 867653. Please stand up for a pledge of allegiance. Ready? Again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Please remain standing. Mr. Ureña, can you help us with the mission statement, please?
City of Calexico mission statement.
Together,
we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Viva Calexico.
And we'll have invocation by Chief of Police Gerardo.
Please bow your heads. Dear loving Father, thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for the life itself, for the measure of health as we fulfill our callings. I pray for our mayor and for all levels of city staff, particularly for us assembled here today at council. And I'm asking you if you would graciously grant us wisdom to govern amid this pandemic, to govern with a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, govern with justice and righteousness, to work together in harmony even when it's an honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before us today. I ask you to give us an assurance of what we would please you and what benefit those who live and work and beloved the city of Calexico. Last, since we're coming up to the anniversary of these gentlemen that used to work for us, we pray for the loss of our own staff, Germanis Aguirre and Ponciano Reyes. May they be in the glory of God and in peace with your presence. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families. We ask you to give them comfort and peace to cope and continue coping with their loss. And also the people here that work with them, we truly miss them as we are a vital part of our staff. It is your utmost, with the blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Thank you, Chief. We are now at the approval agenda. I'd like to add that we have two addendum item agendas issued on Friday, and those are on will be added to. It would be on item number 13, approval of Republic Services. Item number 14, authorize city manager to request for changes to 2021 fixed charge assessment. And that'll put us to, and then we'll change the information item to 15, which is the local appointments list 2022. That'll be the last item. And I'll make a motion. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes noted.
Okay. Anybody second it?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gabriela Fernandez. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Thank you.
Aye.
We now have presentations for code enforcement processes. Update by Isa Tailinda.
Good evening, council, members of the public and staff. The item before you is a presentation regarding the code enforcement processes. It's an overview of the City of Calexico's internal controls and the way we process code enforcement cases within the Planning and Building Services Department. My name is Lisa Tailinda. I am the Planning and Building Services Director, and we will begin this presentation. I will be able to take questions at the end. Thank you. So what is the purpose of code enforcement? Code enforcement is the prevention, detection, investigation, and enforcement of violations of statutes or ordinances regulating public health, safety and welfare, public works, business activities, and consumer protection, building standards, land use, or municipal affairs within a jurisdiction. Code enforcement staff for the City of Calexico consists of 2 code enforcement officers. 1 code enforcement officer primarily works directly with the business community and is currently overseen by the finance department. And the other code enforcement officer deals directly with land use concerns, and that's overseen by the Planning and Building Services Department. We also have the fire prevention consultants, and those are per contract, but they're at no cost to the city. They're funded by the government, and they also perform code enforcement cases for the city. Concerns here at the City of Calexico are received from the following avenues: phone, emails, written statements. We have complaint forms available, and office visits. The code enforcement process currently here at the City of Calexico consists of the following. When a violation is identified, the owner or resident will be notified of the violation and is given an opportunity to correct the violation. Depending on the type of violation, the estimated cost of bringing the property into compliance, and the past history of code violations at the location in question, the owner or resident is typically given 30 days to respond to the code enforcement notice. Then, if the property owner does not respond within the timeline outlined in the code enforcement notice, the case is given to Fire Prevention Services to oversee and process, and the Fire Prevention Services carry out the case until there is a remediation. Here are some examples of the types of code complaints we may receive or process here at the city. Building code violations, accumulation of solid waste, zoning code violation, discharges into the public storm drain system, vacant property maintenance, fence violations, pest infestations or harborage, unauthorized commercial uses, abandoned vehicles, unauthorized signs, fire hazards, tree hazards. Currently, open cases being processed by the city as of December 15th, 2021, today. There are approximately 50 open cases. The cases are a mixture of zoning violations, property maintenance, land use abatement of nuisances, fire hazards, and waste matter. Cases being processed by Fire Prevention Services. This is the consultant service that is at no charge to the city, at no cost to the city. Fire Prevention Services has approximately 30 cases that also range from abandoned vehicles and nuisances that have the potential to result in fires or could be detrimental to health and safety. These are some challenges: vacant properties, absent landlords, out of town or out of state property owners, Fire Prevention Services, our consultants, and we do not directly oversee the consultants. Chronic complaints that stem from cases not being remediated, outdated ordinances, and the land management system that makes processing cases, we do it by hand and then scan it into the system, and overseeing it, it does not have the benefits of what a land management system would provide in terms of updates, noticing, generating automatic updates to staff, and notifying all staff members where the cases are in terms of remediation. So here before you in this slide, we talk about what we're going to propose in terms of processing and investigating code complaints for the new year. It's our New Year's resolution in terms of code enforcement. So we would like to receive complaints, contact complaint for further information, enter case into a database, so that's on our wish list, conduct site visits, investigations include extensive property research, violation confirmed, notices of violation letters, require voluntary compliance by deadline. If no response, then second and final notice. So it's more of a disciplinary or progressive disciplinary process. And if we do not receive a response, then we would do the compliance order and have an administrative hearing. These are ideas, and they will come before. We'll get to a slide where we have a tentative timeline for updating our code enforcement process. Next slide, please. Next steps for implementing the code enforcement process internally: develop better ways of tracking information in a database. So again, it's part of our wish list. More proactive, apply for grants or allocate funds to purchase equipment or land management systems for tracking code enforcement cases. A big thing is collaborate with other departments and agencies. Participate in community outreach events such as Neighborhood Watch. A big thing in code enforcement is educating our community. So if our community understands that we're trying to, clean up and make sure that we're all doing our part and have them be our counterparts so that, we can thrive as a city, that's the first step. So provide information to our community regarding code enforcement, promote code enforcement, consider conflict mediation training for the community, provide workshops to the community regarding the code enforcement, what code enforcement is, and what potential violation types exist within our municipal code. So again, a big thing is informing the community, and kind of like how we do the whole campaign for recycling, but a whole campaign for code enforcement, and what constitutes a municipal code violation. So really, it's educating the public and letting them know this is code enforcement. This could put you at jeopardy of being being in violation or being part of a code enforcement case. So in this slide, we talk about the tentative timeline for updates. So on the January 19th, 2022, staff will bring before the City Council during the meeting draft updates for code enforcement process and violation levels for discussion and direction. It won't be a first reading. The first reading is proposed until after we have it as a discussion and direction item. So then February 2022, we anticipate incorporating any discussion or direction given by the council into an ordinance and have the first reading regarding new code enforcement policies and procedures before the City Council. March 2022, we would conduct public workshops to inform our community of the proposed changes and why, what they involve, what they represent. And then May 2022, begin implementation of newly adopted / active code enforcement policies. Oh, any questions?
So you're saying that we have 50 right now?
Of homes, it's like the abandoned area, because we do, if you look around town, there is a lot of them, but, so are we,
So what we're referencing, so combined, we have 50 open cases that have not been closed, and what that means, they have not reached remediation by the property owner, and that's just what we have open and being processed. In addition to, it would be a total of 80 open cases throughout the city, because the 30 other ones are the ones that are being processed by fire prevention services.
so how long does the process normally take? Because what I have seen, it takes it's a lengthy time to get anything done, especially when you have an abandoned home and the owners live far away from you or are out of the city. So can you more or less tell us what the time frame is?
Yeah, so depending on the type of code enforcement violation, we have to make contact with the property owner in some way, shape, or form. We have to provide notice, and then based on, and you have a manual in front of you, the Administrative Citation Procedures Manual. The city outlines how much time we're going to give them on the initial notice. So sometimes it's a warning, and then they get a courtesy notice, and the courtesy notice tells them you have 30 days. But it really is the process that's outlined within the ordinances that needs to be updated, and that's why we're going to bring before the City Council draft updates for your discussion and direction, because currently the ordinance is a ordinance that is very relaxed in terms of the way it's processed and the way the city follows up, and there's certain language and parameters that we have to follow before we could even put liens or take over the property, and it really becomes more of a legal matter. So the current process gives the property owner or the business the potential to come into compliance, because the ultimate goal is for them to come into compliance. So we follow, and then a lot of the times they come in and they say they comply with the courtesy notice, so they go, I need more time. Okay, we grant them more time. I don't have money. Okay, but it's all documented. So it's really getting the property owner in and working with them. But it's also a big part of updating our ordinances to define how we're going to issue violations. Are we going to do a $20 violation, a level 1, level 2? And we currently don't have that.
Yeah, what I've seen is, since we haven't updated this since 2007.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's very good.
Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the presentation. I think this was something that, personally I have been asking. Why? Because, I mean, it's not so much, I think when we talk about code enforcement, we automatically think about something negative. And like you said about the purpose of code enforcement, there's a key thing, and it's one of the first words that you see in the first sentence. It's actually prevention. So instead of punishment, I want to think of this as prevention. And I think prevention is the key here. And due to the fact of all these issues that we're having throughout our city, with fires, with a lot of properties that are probably in disrepair, abandoned. So I think we need to take a very active approach in prevention, in educating. And not so much that we're going to go and punish, but if that's the case, that where we have to get to in order to find some sort of solution to all these issues, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. But I do agree that we have to update our ordinances and our policies on this. 2007 is a long time. And then also, I mean, all this process that takes so long, days, months, I think it's just way too lengthy. I know we have to give them some due diligence and due process to the individuals, but then also, I mean, if the response is that they don't have the resources, we understand that, but at the same time, I mean, we have to find ways where we have to be preventive, we have to be proactive, because when a tragedy happens, whether it's a fire, I mean, that's when we're going to start asking ourselves questions. what could have been done. So I don't want to get to that point. Again, and this is driven based on what we're going through. I want to see something that is updated. I want to see something that is fair, that we're going to be able to share with our community, that maybe instead of waiting or going through this process, making it in such a way that it's going to have an immediate impact, that it's going to be very clear and understandable to the community. And then also, you mentioned something that we have fire prevention consultants, right? So is that, and you mentioned that it was free also, or their services are free. So how much of the services that these consultants provide are actually being utilized, or are we utilizing, or because they're free? And I understand there is no such thing as free. There's always something, a catch. But how much are they really engaged in this process of code enforcement? Maybe we don't have to go with these free consultants. Maybe we have to be with someone that is going to be proactive, that is going to be really engaged. So I know, and I don't want to contradict myself with other statements that, you know, we don't want consultants, but we want, you know, people who are going to be able to help us out to find a solution and to make sure that we implement what we have here, because also updating our ordinances, it won't do any good if we don't implement them also. So if you can just explain how, you know, these free consultants, or how do we have access, or based on what, or who are those consultants?
So the state of California provides funding for these consultants, and they provide the consulting services for multiple jurisdictions throughout the state of California. The thing is, once we pass on a case to the fire prevention consultants, then their adopted process takes effect. And what I mean by that, their code enforcement process. So if their code enforcement process says that they give an initial notice and they give them 60 days, and then after the 60 days they send another notice and it gives them 30 days, and then after 30 days they send another notice, or they go clean up the property and then they send them the bill. And if they do not pay the bill, then they go put a lien on the property. So they have their own process, and once we send up a case to them, the case is now governed by their consulting processes, because the city entered into an agreement per resolution in 2018. So whenever we send a case, they now oversee it, and they process it per their set of requirements.
Okay. So can we go back and revisit that agreement that we entered with this company? And maybe, I don't know if it is mandated by the state that we have to have them, or if we can just go out and look for someone that is going to help us out. I understand that we're short-staffed. We only have 2 code enforcement officers. But if we need to bring in help, I think this is one way that we can address a lot of the issues that we're having, especially with fires, especially with the blight, you know, that you see throughout our city. And something has to be done real fast. So if we can, you know, I don't know if this has to go formally through council. If we can look into that, you know, looking into procuring other company or the services of other companies that they can actually come and do what they need to do. Because I haven't seen, you know, any company coming in and cleaning an empty or vacant lot, you know, that is full of trash. So I want to see something like that, and the sooner the better.
What we can do, Mayor Pro Tem, the importance of why this presentation was put together was basically to open the dialogue, right? Kind of paint the picture of where we stand right now, get your feedback, so we can then, on our end, do what we need to do to address, 1, your concerns, and 2, improve some of the items that the director mentioned in her presentation. And yes, this was an item that had been requested now for months. I do want to point that out, but also at the same time, the direction on my end to the director was, let's make sure that we have a comprehensive presentation as to where we stand right now. So based on that, we can take action as to what we need to improve and do. So I think that's clear now. We definitely will take back the feedback that we received today, so we can proceed accordingly with this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Ryan? No? Well, good presentation. Just for the record, I'd like to say that our code enforcement program, it's not intended to be a piggy bank account. for minor, what we call minor code violations in the city. I like to see it rather a program that allows the property owners a legitimate opportunity to not only address their very own violations, right? Because they may not know what they're doing, but also an opportunity for the citizens to defend themselves, in this case, the property owners. So I'm looking forward to this new enhancement program, and I know we have some timelines here to updates that you're going to give us in the near future. So thank you for the presentation. That's all I got to say. I don't have anything else. Anybody else? No? Okay. So moving up to item number 2, development impact fees and planning building permit fees update by Lisa Talenda, Planning and Building Service Director.
Mayor, members of the council, members of the public that are following our meeting, we want to be consistent with these sensitive matters that we've been bringing before you in the past meetings. So we want to make sure that we keep everybody informed as to what steps we're taking as it pertains to the progress of this important item. So with that said, the director requested that this item be placed on the agenda so we can all be informed of the recent updates that have surfaced since the last conversation we had.
Good evening, council, members of the public and staff. This presentation is short and simple. We have a long agenda, so I wanted to make it as brief as possible. If you could go to slide 2, please. This is a update via timeline of what we've done. So on November 30th, we had a public outreach workshop. We had comments received. We are polishing our fees. I'm presenting this item during the city council meeting for an update in efforts for transparency and just noticing the public of what is being worked on. We have another public workshop for community members planned on January 12th, 2022. That'll take place at 5:30 p.m. here, and we'll be releasing a flyer. And then on January 19th at the city council meeting, we're going to bring new fees to adopt to the council. And those fees, because there's going to be additions to additional items outlined that were not outlined in the previous Maximus study. For example, we have people come and ask for printouts at the planning and building services. And if we don't have it defined, we cannot charge. Other departments do have it defined. For example, the city clerk has her own resolution and her own adopted fees to charge for copies. So when we don't have items defined, we have to adopt the new fees for those items, and per the ordinance, it has to be noticed for 30 days, posted here at City Hall. So once we get those new fees adopted, because they were not defined or reduced, they have to be advertised here. The requirement is that they're advertised here, noticed here. So we'll do that, and it has to run for 30 days. Apart from putting it here at the requirements, we're going to go above and beyond and notice it on our Facebook pages and our websites. And then we'll be able to implement the new fees in February, because it has to run for 30 days before we begin implementation of them. And then we will have a draft development impact fee study circulated to council and the public for review and comments, and that's for the development impact fees. So we're doing a lot of things in regards to fees. So what I'm referencing on 2/19/2022 is actually building and planning permit fees. What I'm referencing on February 28th is actually the development impact fees. That's the study that is being conducted right now. And April 28th, we will have an updated draft of development impact fees recirculated, that will incorporate any corrections or updates suggested by either the city council or any pertinent corrections or updates that have been suggested by the public or any agencies. And then we will have our first public hearing for development impact fees on 7/6/2022, so July 6th, and then August 8th, 2022. But those two dates, those two city council dates, will not only be for development impact fees, but it'll also be for planning and building permit fees as well. So we're combining them all together. Yeah. Or we're working them all concurrently.
I think part of this we had discussed also in just making sure that it's out there, and I'm glad that there's a plan to advertise it and to make it available. So if we can just make it available to as many in as many places as possible, we know here City Hall, maybe the library, maybe reaching out to the chamber if they're somehow also engage with businesses and whoever. Where we can see that there is an opportunity to get feedback, because I remember, on the 30th, there were actually quite a few people here that provided feedback, and it was very engaging. And it was very productive to hear their feedback. So if we can just put it out there, get feedback, whether it's through just notes, they can put in a deposit in the box or emails, that type of thing. So I think the feedback is very important, and that's what we're building on. That's what we actually heard from some of the public that's in attendance today, that participating in that workshop. So the more that we put it out there, the more that we're going to get feedback, and we can continue to move forward. But thank you, great presentation, great timeline.
What I suggest is put it in. Could you hear me or not?
There you go.
Okay. Our water bill. You know how you can send in a questionnaire, because that reaches out to every resident in the city, and I think that's something we could start with, and having a questionnaire, and then when they come and pay their water bill, they could bring it in.
I love that idea.
And thank you so much. This is a great timeline.
Thank you. It's very important to hear council's direction and feedback. So thank you. And I'm writing down everything you guys are saying. Thanks.
Student.
Just thank you for a very comprehensive process.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, item number 3, bi-weekly COVID-19 update presentation.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, today at 4:41, the County of Imperial issued a notice in which they informed that the Imperial County Health Officer issued an amended health office order in response to the California Department of Public Health's updated requirements for indoor masking. The amended Imperial Public Health Officer order is available on the Public Health County website. It can be found there. And this amended order is effective today, Wednesday, December 15th, and it will continue for 1 month up to January 15th, 2022, or as extended by the State of California Public Health Department. With that said, I also want to inform that our Public Health Department Director, Ms. Janet Angulo, did a very good job yesterday at 4:16 in sending every city an update on the COVID-19 general case information. This information is information that I will be passing on to our city clerk, so it can be posted on our website as we continue to inform the community of where we stand as a city and as a county with the COVID-19 pandemic. With that said, Mayor, I'm not sure if there's any other comments from the dais, but that's my report.
I don't have anything, Mr. Garcia.
No, thank you.
We're going to go back and enforcing it, like the six feet apart in our seating arrangements.
For now, the amended order calls for that. However, it's at the discretion of every local entity if we want to take additional precautionary measures. Even though they are not an obligation, we have the luxury to do that as needed.
Mr. No? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexicoca.gov the Friday the following City Council meetings. Committee office hours with Mayor Moreno will be held by appointment. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 to schedule an appointment. Public comments and public appearances, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. However, if the item you wish to comment on is on the consent agenda, please comment now. The Mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. All members of the public are encouraged to participate. It is unlawful to disturb or delay the City Council meeting with personal slanderous remarks. the City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item of the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. We do have a total of 3 comments tonight. The first one is by Lilia Martinez. Lilia Martinez here?
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Vengo de parte de todos los residentes de la avenida Paulín. Es más que nada, esta carta es para expresar la desaprobación en cuanto al tiempo que está tomando la ciudad para las reparaciones de la avenida. Como residente que vivimos en la avenida Paulín, hemos observado que de primera mano la contaminación ha causado por el exceso de polvo, tierra y piedras que hay en la calle. Esto ha aumentado la contaminación con la cantidad de tráfico de vehículos que fluyen en esta avenida, que es importante para la ciudad. La cantidad de tierra y polvo causado sin duda ha incrementado y ha afectado las condiciones de salud de los niños y los adultos que residen en la avenida. De tal manera que pues obviamente pues en este caso pues ha deteriorado su salud como alma. A pesar de que hemos visto camiones de riego en la avenida en las mañanas, en las tardes, esto no es suficiente. Entendemos que la ciudad necesita reparar y mantener la infraestructura, sin embargo exigimos que la ciudad de Calexico haga todo lo posible que esté en su poder para repavimentar las calles lo antes posible y para evitar que nosotros los residentes salgamos afectados por esta situación. Más que nada que se pavimente por completo la calle, no solamente que se rellenen los hoyos, los espacios, sino que se pavimente por completo. Más que nada porque es una calle muy, muy importante y no solamente circulan carros en la calle, circulan camiones, camiones de trabajo de campesinos, camiones de la ciudad, trailers. O sea, es una calle bastante utilizada y sí necesita que se le haga el servicio que se requiere y de manera efectiva, porque hemos esperado mucho porque esta calle se arregle por muchos años.
¿Solo? Gracias.
Sí, algunas preguntas que tengo.
¿Mande?
¿Alguna pregunta que tenga?
Solamente agradecimiento que nos traiga esto a nuestra atención. A veces cuando hacemos planes, obras, mejoras, no escuchamos la voz del pueblo, los impactos que puede tener en los residentes. Ahorita ya es después de todo esto, pero espero que el señor Figueroa por lo menos pueda asesorar o informar de cómo se va a llevar a cabo el proyecto de aquí hasta el final. Le agradezco.
Pues más que nada es saber si va a tener una terminación efectiva en ese sentido de que se va a pavimentar por completo la calle, que es lo que estamos esperando. Pues hemos estado, pues la verdad, pues en este caso, pues aguantando las circunstancias de los que se tienen que hacer bajo estas circunstancias, ¿no? Que se están haciendo cambios drásticos en la ciudad, pues esperas y soportas todo eso. Pero si en este caso solamente no se va a hacer un cambio drástico para nosotros, que es lo que estamos esperando, pues también estamos pues un poco decepcionados en ese sentido, si no se va a hacer una pavimentación completa. A mí me ha tocado, estuve haciendo investigación de campo con la gente, estuve de casa en casa. Es muy difícil ir de casa en casa y darte cuenta cuántos niños asmáticos hay en la ciudad. Y luego aparte cuántas personas mayores, o sea, ni siquiera pueden salir a veces por las circunstancias. Es importante la salud de las personas de la ciudad y aparte de la salud, es un bienestar común. nosotros vivimos por ahí, pero ¿cuántas personas no circulan por ahí que lo necesitan para llegar de un lugar a otro?
Sí, yo le daré seguimiento a su petición. No sé si trae algún escrito, me lo puede
Sí,
dejar.
claro.
Nos podemos poner de acuerdo para ya a nivel administración trabajar con usted.
Ah, por supuesto.
Gracias.
Claro que sí, aquí le dejo la
Por
documentación.
supuesto. Muy amable.
Muchas gracias por
Gracias,
eso.
muy amable.
Gracias.
Our next speaker is Eloisa Paez.
Soy la señora Eloisa Páez, que vivo en el fraccionamiento del frente del remate Santo Tomás, que tenemos problemas, ya tenemos ahí viviendo 32 años y todo el tiempo estábamos sin traficar como ahorita de los semáis y de los carros muy recio. Porque cuando hicieron el fraccionamiento ese, las casas de la orilla tuvieron problemas. Entonces ahorita, como ya van a cerrar el remate Santo Tomás, ya no hay ningún letrero. Pasan todos, van jugando carreras y los semáis pasan uno detrás de otro y también igual de recio. Antes no pasaba ni un semai, desde que estamos ahí no pasaba semáis, hasta ahora que están cerrando el remate. No hay letreros de alta hora porque ya los quitaron. Y pues venimos dos personas de la misma calle y tenemos problemas. En la noche pues los semáis tiemblan las casas porque tuvieron problemas las casas. La casa de nosotros se partió por la mitad y le hicieron un arreglo, pero no quedó bien. Del tren no nos afecta, está lejos, pero acá las casas tiemblan. Sí, tiemblan y la casa de nosotros, la casa de usted, en la pared de donde está mi recámara, está a 20 pies de la banqueta de la calle. Y pues no nos dejan dormir. Los demás, los trocos, los carros. Ahorita traía yo, que se me olvidó en la casa, 2 recibos que le dieron a mi esposo cuando él trabajaba en un troque. Se le olvidó el lonche, vino 2 veces por el lonche y le dieron 2 tickets. Ahorita los traía, pero se me olvidaron en la mesa. Y estaba muy, muy controlado pues ahí el tráfico. Ahorita hasta los camiones de la escuela que recogían a los niños no dejaba pasar. Ahorita ya pasan todas en lo que le da su gana. Y pues nos da miedo. A ella, la señora que está en la orilla, le tomaron una vez el cerco, ellos la arreglaron. Y yo estoy muy cerquita, y me da miedo. Que vaya a pasar un accidente ahí con los semáis. Pasan muy recio. Y queremos a ver si nos ayudaban, pues quizás poner letreros o alguna cosa. Pues, como antes no mirábamos semáis ahí.
Señora, estamos tomando nota de lo que nos comenta y los departamentos que trabajan en esos temas le vamos a dar seguimiento. Ya nos ubicamos dónde vive usted y las compañeras que vinieron, sí, para trabajar en el tema y poderles informar lo que se va a hacer.
Está bien, gracias al encargado porque ya mataron a un muchacho en una moto de tan recio que van por sus semáis. Ahí les encargamos.
Muy amable.
¿Sí?
Gracias.
Gracias, señora Páez. Gracias.
Gracias. Our next speaker is Mr. Luis Cota.
Mr. Mayor and members Cota, was born and raised and still live here in Calexico. 42 years ago, I put up a building up on the corner of Highway 98 and Ali Street. I opened up a restaurant there called Ramada. Some of you may recall it, some of you are maybe just too young, but anyway, that was 42 years ago. Now, the development in that area for years, I've always thought that that would have been a boost for my building. Good location and what have you. But what's happened is that the development that is happening now is that even though I was not notified, and neither was my tenant of that building, that this construction was going to happen, and without being notified, I figured that the road was going to be widened and my building would not be affected. But I found out just yesterday that the 3 parking spaces that I have, which is basically the life support of that building, is being removed. And I and my tenant we were just not aware of it. We were not told. Now, how could that be? How could someone go in there and right now you've had the pandemic for 2 years. Most businesses have been in life support since then. And now all of a sudden remove that parking spaces. That's basically just shutting off our life support. So all I am asking is hopefully someone could talk to Caltrans and see if there's any way of saving those parking spaces, because by not doing so, there's our life support. And so there's got to be an empathy, there's got to be a concern about knowing what this is going to happen by doing what they're doing. There's got to be a concern. And even though I've been notified that this has been addressed, I'd like to just make you aware that things like this, people need to be made aware. All we need is there's a concern for me as your constituent, that you're concerned for everybody, as opposed to everybody has a job to do. That I realize, and that's good. But you know what? There are rules and there are laws, and sometimes you can bend and work with them, but try and do something to help, in this case, the tenant and myself in saving those couple of parking spaces. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cota.
Thank you.
Now we have 4 total, 4 more? Okay.
Hello, my name is Kenny Parada. I am a representative of UFCW Local 1167. On behalf of UFCW, we would like to public comment for December 15, 2021, City Council meeting. I will attach the letter, and can Calexico staff read it out loud during general public comment, and can staff provide the letter to each of the City Council members? The letter states, Dear Mayor Moreno and fellow council members, on behalf of the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW Local 1167, and our 20,000 essential members in the counties of San Bernardino, Riverside, and Imperial, I am writing to express our support in allocating funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to go directly to the residents of Calexico, which have been greatly impacted on the ongoing pandemic. During the last 2 years, essential workers in the grocery and drug industry have been hit hard with the COVID-19 pandemic. It has upended their daily lives as they have put their health and safety at risk every single day to make sure our residents get the food and medicine they need. The coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, as outlined by the U.S. Treasury Department, provide guidelines that recipients may use these funds to meet pandemic response needs and rebuild a stronger and more equitable economy as the country recovers. For this reason, we are in support of allocating funds for the program that provide premium pay for Calexico-based essential workers, encompassing grocery stores, pharmacy, retail stores, warehouses, healthcare, and farm workers. We are also in support of investing in downtown infrastructure for essential workers, investing in cooling stations to prevent heat exhaustion, investing in outreach capacity to increase access to assistance programs, psychiatric emergency response team, and investing in a Housing First pilot program. Allocating ARPA funds to programs like the ones listed above will strengthen and improve the economic and health harms that families and essential workers affected by COVID-19 have faced, which will help build a stronger Calexico. As we all work to recover from the effects of this pandemic, we thank the council and city staff for their work in the city of Calexico. Respectfully, Joe Duffel, President. Public comment from Daniela Flores.
Excuse me, Ronnie, but we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, okay. My name is Daniela Flores, a community health advocate with Salud Sin Fronteras and Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition, and previously a planning commissioner for the city of Calexico. I am also a public health professional that has been responding to the pandemic to address issues of health equity in this county. I am writing in support of an equitable approach to ARPA allocation. The residents of Calexico continue to be severely impacted by the negative health outcomes and economic hardships from the pandemic. Respectfully, I ask that you place this as a priority as we approach the new year. As noted by other residents, the current and previously proposed priorities have two objectives unaddressed: support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses, and address system public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. These are two crucial, and I urge you to consider allocations that equitably consider the unequal impacts of the pandemic and implement the programming to help reduce those inequities. Many cities in California are already implementing such programs. I am in support of the following proposals submitted by the Calexico Coalition, including Ivy Equity and Justice Coalition. Calexico Needs Change and Calexico Union Against Corruption. Number 1, bonus program for COVID-19 high-risk essential workers, grocery store workers, warehouse workers, healthcare, and farm workers. Number 2, downtown infrastructure for essential workers. Number 3, invest in cooling stations. Number 4, invest in outreach capacity to increase access to assistance programs. Number 5, psychiatric emergency response team. Number 6, invest in a Housing First pilot program. Thank you, Daniela Flores. Dear Calexico City Council, my name is Christian Arana. I am the Vice President of Policy and the Latino Community Foundation, LCF, California's sole philanthropic organization organized on unleashing the civic and economic power of Latinos in the state. On behalf of the LCF, I write in support for our community partners like the Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition, who are advocating for an equitable and inclusive approach to the allocation and spending of the City of Calexico's $9.5 million American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds. For almost 2 years, workers in frontline positions have been forced to make the difficult decision of making ends meet or risking infection from the coronavirus. For helping the local economy stay afloat, these essential workers, including grocery, warehouse, and farm workers, deserve bonus pay. The City Council should consider creating a bonus pay program to provide these workers with the economic stabilization they need to recover from the pandemic. To increase uptake of existing state and federal cash assistance programs, the City Council should also invest in public education and outreach efforts led by trusted community-based organizations. For example, in Imperial County, 42% of residents eligible for the California's Earned Income Tax Credit program are not claiming this financial support. The City Council should also explore solutions to increase affordable housing. Calexico households have applied for $2.3 million to cover the cost of back rent via the state's COVID-19 rent relief program, and fewer than half of these households have received assistance thus far. Rising temperatures put residents experiencing homelessness in particularly precarious situations as heat-related deaths rise across Imperial County. Further, I urge you to implement a transparent public process to engage Calexico residents that can ensure the equitable allocation and spending of ARPA funds. This process should offer translation for non-English speakers, and should be accessible to all residents, including to those with disabilities. LCF is the premier statewide foundation focused on unleashing the civic and economic power of Latinos in California. In 2022, LCF will reach $20 million in grant awards to over 175 Latino-led nonprofits to advance this mission. Our investments have prioritized key regions of the state that are resilient yet underfunded, including Imperial County. With respect, Christian Arana, Vice President of Policy, Latino Community Foundation. Dear Calexico City Council members, we, the undersigned people of Calexico, committed to many of the goals outlined in the American Rescue Plan Act of addressing the impacts of the pandemic of government, household, essential workers, and small businesses, respectfully submit the following recommendations for the allotment of some of the remaining $5 million of ARPA. Recommendations for the utilization of ARPA funds as outlined by the U.S. Treasury Department and interpreted by policy organizations like the Brookings and Urban Institutes make clear that funds should repair government fiscal impacts, but also be invested in repairing the economic and health harms on families and community members most affected by COVID-19. Currently, no utilization priority in Calexico's ARPA plan addresses 2 of the 4 objectives outlined by the U.S. Treasury Department. The 2 unaddressed objectives are support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses, and address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. We can invest and reduce the harsh economic impacts of the pandemic in our community. Throughout this pandemic, we have seen a devastating number of deaths due to the combination of climate, overburdened police department, whose bulk of calls are mental health related issues, the closure of many small businesses, and essential workers having to risk their lives every day to go to work. These unsung essential workers have labored through the pandemic with no reward, yet they are the most exposed and at risk. Early research on COVID-19 deaths in California suggests they are highest among workers in agricultural, warehousing, and construction, with elevated deaths among retail and custodial workers too. Those who work in the retail food industry, grocery stores, and those who work as cashiers, field workers, and healthcare workers never stopped working throughout the pandemic, but currently remain left in the city's ARPA utilization priorities. To address this need, we urge you to consider some of the proposals we believe could positively impact our community and alleviate some of the hardships that your constituents are experiencing. Below, we outline a set of proposals for the allotment of the remaining $5 million in funds to the City of Calexico, which reflect the goals of the American Rescue Plan Act. Bonus programs for COVID-19 high-risk essential workers. Create a city essential worker bonus program for Calexico-based essential workers, encompassing grocery stores, warehouses, healthcare, and farm workers. Provide a minimum of $300 HERO grant. These essential workers were on the front lines of the pandemic and were exposed to the highest infection risk. This program could function like other assistance programs, which would make grants upon the application registration of essential workers in the city program. Downtown infrastructure for essential workers. This grant provides the resources to invest in the renovation and construction of much needed resources and structures in downtown Calexico. Unlike the downtowns of other cities across the county, Calexico's downtown is vibrant and highly used by essential workers who cross daily, but infrastructure does not provide basic needs for this. Population. ARPA money should be invested in renovating bathrooms in downtown Calexico, creating and expanding shade structures, and expanding the public access to water. Invest in cooling stations. ARPA can provide essential investments in climate infrastructure in light of the longer, hotter, and earlier summers. Numerous deaths in downtown have been attributed to heat exhaustion. The city currently has no accessible or comprehensive cooling station plan. We urge the council to use ARPA funds to prepare for the next summer with accessible and day-long cooling stations in downtown Calexico. Expansion in downtown outdoor shading structures and water access can complement expanded cooling stations. Invest in outreach capacity to increase access for assistance programs. barriers in accessing assistance programs provided by the state, ranging from rent relief, unemployment, utility assistance, were a constant problem throughout the pandemic. These barriers are particularly high in Spanish-speaking communities with less connection to government services. Funds can be directed towards boosting outreach and assistance for Calexico residents to access already available pandemic assistance programs. This can be done by designating Calexico public officials to assume outreach roles or by collaborating and funding local nonprofits to perform this work.
All right. Just go through the bullet points. We already passed 5 minutes. Because there's also an attachment back here, so it's really extensive. That's available to the website. Just go through the bullet points real quick.
Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, Invest in Housing First pilot program. And that's it.
No. Okay, thank you. We have anything else? No? Okay, we now at City Manager Report.
Last night, the City of Calexico issued a notice, more than a notice, an invitation for a public workshop, which we entitled the Small Business Assistance Loan Public Workshop. This is focused on our continuous efforts to support the small business community in Calexico. Aside from the policy changes this council has considered and adopted as part of the Community Development Block Grant monies that the city was awarded in an effort to provide relief because of the COVID-19 impacts in our city, the CV2 and CV3 funds, several months ago, through a resolution, this council approved support for small businesses. What we have done since then is work hand in hand with the Housing and Community Development Department up in Sacramento through the Planning and Building Services Department to make sure that we comply with all the elements that they establish for the programs for which we submitted an application for. I'm very happy to share that we continue to work closely with HCD and their staff, and they have issued the city the formal award notice so we can proceed, delineate the guidelines, the needed documentation, so the businesses can apply for these funds. Given that we obviously are capped and limited on money, we want to stretch as much as we can the money to help as many businesses as possible. We're providing up to $7,500 worth of support in the form of a loan. I do want to say that it's an extensive application, a little over 30 pages, but I do want to be clear that we are following the protocols and requirements from HCD. So with that, the Planning and Building Services Director will spearhead, along with her staff, a workshop in which we will take by the hand all the business owners that come in so they can understand how it is that they can benefit from the program and what it's going to take for them to qualify for the program. Therefore, this invitation for December 29th in these chambers from 5:30 to 6:30 will provide such guidance. This is going to be also streamed via Zoom. We're going to record this meeting so we can continue to showcase it to those that might be able to attend through our city website. So again, kudos to staff that's assisting and moving forward this agenda to continue to assist small businesses. With that said, I am now going to call on 3 of my department heads. Each of them is going to give a brief update on some of the community events that we've attested in the previous weeks that have been extremely important given the times to make a connection with our community, to make them feel that the city is with them. So I'll be calling in the following order: Police Chief Gerardo. I'll then call Recreation Manager Norma Gerardo, and that will be wrapped up by Library Manager Liseth Legaspi. They will come after they finish talking one by one.
most of my time to you guys. I'm sharing a video that was prepared by the Calexico Chronicle. This year, the Calexico Police Department, in conjunction with the fire department, MTC, Metropolitan Training Services. They're the ones that have the detention facility just east of the city, and a lot of other partners which we're going to bring on later on next year or early on next year to actually give them recognition in front of you. This year, by far, we raised the most money, and if Mr. Sky Ainsworth is looking, it was raised. It was not the city's budget. We raised this money through donations. Sergeant Victor Legaspi, with the assistance of the Family Resource Center, Calexico Unified School District, we raised over close to $8,000. And so this year we decided to up, because of the cost of living that we haven't done in the past 18 years, we raised it from $100 to $150 shopping spree per child. The Family Resource Center is the one that picks the children. We don't. They deal with all the juveniles and the students from the school district, and they know who are the kids that are more in need of this type of fun that they're going to have. So I have a long list of names, but I'll bring them up next time. But it was a successful event, and a lot of hard work went in from my staff, from Hortensia Armendariz, from MTC. They were on my steering committee. Great people. Hands to them, because I think they're awesome. You guys can clap to that. But I want to thank also our staff, Mr. Figueroa, for allowing me to have fun while I'm working. This will be, for me, it's kind of a hard goodbye, because it will be my last Kids and Badges since we started 18 years ago as your chief. I will continue to volunteer if I'm around, and I will do it, and help out and donate money to the cause. So if you want to play the video, it was really exciting. I mean, this makes my December. This all year I can have headaches, but every time we do this event, I forget it for about half a day, because we're dealing with this. It's a short video put on by the Calexico Chronicle. And it does have sound. I don't know if you... Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. All the time is the land of the sleigh. Jingle bells, that rolls on the sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleigh song tonight. Oh! Jingle bell, jingle all the way. All the time is riding on the open sleigh. So real quick, like it's if you guys know anything about what it takes to maintain a helicopter, it is one of the most expensive modes of transportation. That's why Reach charges you $80,000 to $100,000 to take you to hospital. They donate that. Reach donates bringing Santa every year, and they'll put a helicopter on standby. There's only been one time where they couldn't do it. They aborted, and they had to drop off Santa at the hospital, and we had to go pick them up afterwards because they have to do transport. But you know, if you look at it, McDonald's helps us out. McDonald's was Santa was from McDonald's, and they provided us with coupons for free meals. Denny's donated the breakfast for the kids. We had, I think Hortensia told me I had 4 children out of 36 that I had never been at a Denny's anywhere. This is the first time eating at a Denny's. I mean, we take those things for granted. So it was great fun trying to get the kids going. As you can see, I'm not the type of chief that stands, oh, I'm not going to get involved. I get involved with our kids. They're our future, man, and everybody, but especially the kids. To me, a lot of these kids always have a negative contact with it because we either arrested a brother, a father or mother, or it's negative contacts. When they see us, and they actually take some about 10-15 minutes to get to know us, and after we eat breakfast together, they're like, oh, you guys are the good guys. So it's really fun, guys. I mean, being in this profession for so long and having to do that, it really feels good. It feels like you're actually doing something for the community. So on behalf of the department, anybody that's watching this, and everybody will recognize you. I want to thank everybody that participated. Our city staff here went out there and helped us out. Again, I can't thank you more. I mean, this is an event that I really, really love. So thank you very much. This is what I got for you guys for this week. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Chief.
Now I want a helicopter for my son as well. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members, members of the public, and the public here present. We had a couple of events. Last Thursday, we had our annual North Pole Express at Recreation. We had over 300 children drive by. And we had a couple of sponsors. I want to name them before we play the video. Las Palmas Swap Meet. They provided 70 toys for the kids. And also Honeybee Pastries. They provided a cookie decorating kit for 200 children. All in total, we had goodie bags plus the cookies and the toys. It was 270 presents, and we ran out. That's why we know we had over 300 kids driven by. Then yesterday, we had the first presentation. We had to split it into 2 presentations. We had the first presentation at the Carmen Duraso Cultural Arts Center of our programs and classes that we have going at the Arts Center. I want to thank the Calexico Arts Council for sponsoring those classes. And if we may present the video, it's a short video for you guys just to see some of the pictures. Thank you very much. And tomorrow we have the final presentation at the Art Center. If you council members would like to attend, you're more than invited.
What time?
It's going to be at 5:30 at the Art Center. Thank you.
Good evening. So just a couple of highlights of many programs that the library has been offering. We had, if you want to go to the next slide. We had, back in October, we had a Halloween family night in the parking lot, the first one of its kind that we started after COVID. We had over 300 people in attendance. Kids did arts and crafts, they play games. As you can see, even parents dressed up. If you want to go to the next slide. We always try to collaborate with other departments, and we had, can you go to the next one? I'm sorry. We had the Imperial County Transportation Commission setting up a booth. We had the Calexico Police Department. We had the Calexico Neighborhood House. We also had the District Attorney's Office. I'm missing the picture in there. So they provided different, kids were able to trick or treat among the tables. They provided information to the public. The next type of programs we've been offering is the Teen Times, programs for teenagers ages 13 to 17. We are collaborating with the San Diego State University Imperial Valley campus. They've been providing a couple of books to give up to kids, teens. In this case, as you can see, is one of the books that got national recognition. So we provide, thanks to the Friends of the Library, they provide pizza and sodas and snacks for the kids, for the teens. Can we go to the next slide? Sometimes we offer a craft activity, sometimes we offer a game activity. So always trying to offer something for our teenage population as well. We have a program called Lunch at the Library. Every Monday we collaborate with the Calexico Neighborhood House. They provide us snacks for kids ages 1 through 18. And thanks to a grant from the California State Library, we were able to provide a literacy component. So we give books, we give craft materials, we give other resources for families, for the kids. So here are a couple of pictures of kids that go to the library. This is offered on Mondays. And then we were part of the tree lighting ceremony, so we were able to bring the Lunch at the Library program to this other segment of our community. The library participated in Kids and Badges. We provided a very nice tote bag with books and crafts and different activities, library information. Hopefully, if many of those kids are not library users yet, but they get acquainted with our services through the packet that we were able to provide them. Can we go to the next slide? There's just a couple of pictures with Santa. Next slide. Today we just had a Christmas tree picture event. We also had Santa at the library. The McDonald's provided Happy Meals for the kids. Starbucks provided coffee for the parents. We had the Associated Calexico teachers volunteering their time in helping us distribute books to kids. The Friends of the Library provided a small present for the kids. So it was a very well-attended event. And next one. And just, the first program for the following year, we're going to have a pajama party in the parking lot once again. Hopefully we're able to carry it out. So just thank you for your time, and thank you for your support of our library programs, and we encourage everyone to keep on participating in all the programs that the city puts together. Thank you.
Mayor, just on behalf of the city manager's office, to all the departments, we thank them for their service. As we wind up this year that was still full of challenges, we were able to move forward and get back to some of the community events that our city is accustomed to. So I want to thank all my departments, all the staff for their hard work and effort, and we all expect a better 2022. So that concludes the city manager's report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one question for Figueroa.
Go ahead.
for the workshop that you're having, is the flyer going to be in Spanish, and will there also be a Spanish recording or translation of that workshop?
What we're looking at doing is obviously all the material that's going to be discussed and given on December 29th. We will make sure that we have that available in Spanish as well. As it pertains to the actual workshop, I believe between the planning director and myself, we will be doing a simultaneous English and Spanish presentation. At the end of the day, it's going to be recorded, so we will be able to showcase that in both languages.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Next item are city council comments and reports for meetings attended. Fernandez?
The tree lighting. It was a very good event. We had the Calexico band. They did the performance. Councilman Ureña and a pro tem mayor was also here. And it was a very, very well-attended event. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Same thing, you know, I think we all attended a lot of these events that were showcased also, and it feels really good, you know, it feels really good to see that our community, it's being engaged, it's participating. And again, kudos to all the staff. I think that, you know, they're doing a wonderful job, you know, and making sure that, you know, that these special days, you know, are being remembered. And I know every city has a marquee event, you know, Imperial with, you know, Christmas in a small town, but I think Calexico also has some very unique events, and I think we're creating also some events that are becoming, and hopefully will become a tradition also. I know that the rec department with the drive-through event that they had, you know, letters to Santa. I think this is the second year, and I hadn't had the, you know, opportunity to be there in both, you know, events or both times. And it's just so festive, and I think that's something that I think it came out of what we were going through the pandemic last year, but it turned out to be a great event, and that people were looking forward to, from what I saw, and that was great. And everybody being engaged, you know, from our police department, fire department, and all the staff that provided help, you know, setting up kids and badges also. I mean, that's a marquee event also. I mean, I think it can rival, it can challenge any activity or any event that happens throughout the valley or anywhere. I mean, just seeing the faces of those children and just people getting together, you know, forgetting about, you know, our you know, issues and our adult issues. You know, I think there's nothing better and more rewarding to see the face of a child, you know, smiling, at least for the one time in the year. So kudos to all that participated. Same thing at the library. You know, I had a chance to stop by, you know, this afternoon before coming here. You know, I did see, you know, quite a bit of families, you know, doing activities. So again, you know, in spite of what we're going through, challenges also that we know, financial, you know, still, you know, people are stepping out to the plate and making things happen. So again, thank you. Also, I don't want to forget that as a community, we also have a very vibrant community with farm workers. So, and every year they get recognized with the breakfast in their honor. And of course, you know, that's not enough, but it should happen every day of the year, for that matter. But it's also nice to see those type of events, you know, taking place, and people also been there. You know, some of our staff and even you know, Carlos, our attorney, you know, stayed, you know, overnight, and he was there also. So we had a wonderful time. It was great to see, you know, staff, city manager, you know, of course, and the mayor was there. And to my unofficial count that I was provided, I think about 2,800 farm workers were served that day. But again, it was a marquee event. It was a great event. But thank you. So those are the events that I attended in meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mrs. Romo, you online? Do you have anything to add?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to express to the people of Calexico that God bless their homes and families with great health. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ureña?
Muchas gracias, señor alcalde. Thank you. Before I begin, just a reminder that for the council comments with the time limits, I do have 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. Muchas gracias, queridos calesianos, por prestarme su atención por un momento. Gracias, pueblo. Gracias, miembros del cabildo. Muchas gracias, honorable alcalde Moreno. Le doy gracias ante todo, más que nada, a Dios Todopoderoso. Le doy gracias al gobernador Newsom por tener el valor de reconocer la emergencia que está pasando a nivel estatal con el coronavirus. Porque me consta que si estas decisiones de salud pública las dejamos a nivel local, nos morimos todos. Gracias a Dios, mi corazón late y ha latido toda esta pandemia por los empleados, por los miembros del cabildo electos, ciudadanos que están luchando en este momento contra el COVID. Algunos no van a tener Navidad ni feliz año nuevo, van a estar en el hospital por la negligencia local, la censura que tuvo este cabildo de hablar de la salud pública, y no es la primera vez. Quiero mantener mi comentario positivo porque aquí hay un orgullo que quiero compartir con todos. No quiero desgastar ni despreciar mi energía en la negatividad, pero voy a decir la verdad. Esta no es la primera vez que este cabildo calla o fracasa platicar los temas de salud pública, diciendo una y otra vez que no nos incumbe. Por supuesto que nos incumbe la salud pública y el bienestar de Calexico. Desde la moratoria de desalojos que no queríamos discutir antes de la elección, desde el Hero Pay que se negó a todos los mayoría de trabajadores esenciales que son Calexico en su gran mayoría, que ahora vamos a tener que gastar dinero del ARPA para darle lo que deberíamos les habíamos de haber dado en ese entonces cuando todos andaban muriendo. Desde los sitios de examinación para Calexico, no levantamos ni un dedo como cabildo por miedo, excusas. Pero como regidores, la regidora Romo y yo no dormíamos porque nuestra gente se pusiera la máscara, estuviera educada, las vacunas se dieran. Yo no tengo miedo a hablar, exigir por el bienestar de mi pueblo. Yo no tengo pelos en la lengua para eso. Yo no prometo poner algo en la agenda y después negarme por voto a ese tema. No es la primera vez. El señor García me prometió un Climate Action Plan que se iba a discutir. Nunca en estos meses se ha traído a la mesa. Salió algo positivo en el New York Times, en el Times de Nueva York, un artículo sobre el misterio de las altas tasas de vacunación en el Valle Imperial. New York Times article on the mystery of Imperial County's vaccination rate. It's not a mystery locally, no es misterio localmente. Nosotros sabemos qué pasó. El New York Times lo dice muy abierta y francamente y correctamente. Community advocacy, la comunidad, la conexión con la comunidad, las altas tasas mortales y en menor parte ciertos números inflados por la frontera contribuyeron a un evento histórico Quiero agradecer a los miembros del Comité COVID, antes de que fue destrozado por un voto de 3, por su logro histórico. No es la primera vez que los felicito. Los felicité cuando ustedes lograron la mejor vacunación a nivel estatal. Ahora se los reconoce la nación. Los esfuerzos de Calexico hicieron historia, pero ausente estuvo la ciudad. Como señala el New York Times, los esfuerzos locales que muchos nosotros sabemos en nuestro corazón y nuestros ojos porque vivimos aquí y sabemos lo que ha pasado en este cabildo, salvaron vidas, muchas vidas tras las olas de COVID. Es un orgullo inmenso que me da pena que los demás miembros del cabildo no lo reconozcan ni lo hayan leído. Orgullo siento por eso, a pesar de nuestras pólizas locales desastrosas para la salud y la vergüenza de ni siquiera discutirlo por vergüenza política. Que viva Calexico. Que viva Calexico y las gentes que viven en este pueblo, que son de ganas, que a pesar de un gobierno que no los escucha, salen adelante. Gracias Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition, gracias Heffernan, representantes del Calexico School Board, el Dr. Vo que estuvo y fueron parte y siguen siendo parte de esos esfuerzos históricos para la vacunación y el bienestar de esta comunidad. Los que se opusieron, los que retrasaron, los que obstaculizaron esos hechos históricos, los manchará la historia. Aparte de eso, estoy muy feliz de las reformas económicas que se están llevando a cabo aquí en este cabildo. Eso también me da orgullo, ver que por fin, después de no sé qué tantas décadas, estamos actualizando nuestras ordenanzas. Veo hacia el 2022 con mucha esperanza para nuestro presupuesto, para nuestra ciudad, para los eventos de enero. Y en sí, no se tiene ni que decir la magnitud de decepción que yo viví cuando la junta pasada decidí, igual que la regidora Romo, levantarnos de una situación negligente. Pónganse la mascarilla. Señor alcalde, la última cosa que quería decir. I made a pledge to Vice President Fernandez on the topic of ICTC 2 meetings ago. I told her that I would be there, as you named me a second alternate to that commission. I would be there with her in every step of the way to support her in her endeavors on the Imperial County Transportation Commission. I stand by that pledge. And I would like to talk privately on how we're going to go about that so we can have a successful collaboration that will bring good things in transportation to the city. I hope to see the Climate Action Plan back on the agenda in 2022. I hope we take ARPA seriously. I was promised that we would have workshops and community outreach to see what the community wanted. I never saw that. Now that people are speaking, or certain organizations are speaking, saying, or giving us ideas of how ARPA should be spent, we need to be much more proactive because this is the people's money. It's an absolute shame we gave $7,000 to each of our city employees without even thinking. The finance director had said, it's okay, take your time. It's $1 million you're spending. El Centro gave $3,000, fiscally responsible. $7,000, fiscally reckless. I hope those $5 million are enough to cover all those needs. Let's be a little bit more critical. Let's be more open to debate. Disagreement is okay, but debate must be had. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Ureña. So as a point of reference for my comments, as you know, Christmas is a day of joy and celebration, and it's even more meaningful when we have city staff here they can prove what kindness can do by giving a hand to someone in hardship or at deepest point of their life. So I'd like to congratulate the city staff for doing all that you do this past year. Appreciate that. One of the things that I gotta say is I do attend on a regular basis the El Nido de Mexicali baseball game, and on occasions I do get invited in, and I do go out there on a personal matter. So on this Saturday I will be attending the what I call this the first pitch, and what I did, I took it upon myself to invite the city council mayors in Imperial County, and so we'll be attending that on my behalf as a gesture of cooperation and for their, especially we got new city mayors elected this past week, so the token appreciation for their hard work. And that's all I have to say. So now the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council, Community Development Agency, Successor Agency, or Calexico Financing Authority, and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the City Council. We have a motion to approve. Motion approved. Motion by Mr.
Consent agenda?
I'm sorry?
We'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So second.
So second, Ms. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Romo?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. We have, I believe, second reading, Mr. Figueroa, for number 7? Or no?
All those, yes, sir. All those
Yeah,
items
well-
were included within consent,
Oh,
so
okay,
we're good.
So, no items pulled from consent agenda count for discussion. Moving forward to discussion and potential action items, we have item number 10.
Yes, sir. With us today, we have Ms. Candace Wong, who's been with us before at previous meetings. Today before you, we have an item pertaining to the new fire station project that's getting built across the street from City Hall. And at this time, I'll pass on the microphone to Ms. Wong so she can present the item and also provide answers to any comments or questions the council may have.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and City Manager. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this topic. So this is change order number 3 for the fire station. And this is recording 7 items that we have been working with the contractor on. They have presented us with extra costs for certain items, and we have reviewed them with the fire department and vetted them, asked them for backup, which is why you have such a big package with this change order. And so I can go through each item or just take questions on certain items.
I think, Candace, if you may, maybe just give a brief overview of
Okay.
the 7 items that are included within this change order. If the council determines they want more specific details, we can provide them.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so the first PCO is 12R1, and when we have R1 or R2 or R3, that means it's gone 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds of review. So that's what the indicator of the R is a revision number. The first one is the communication tower footing design. And so we had a preliminary design given at the time of bid, and the contractor used that to provide a bid on bid day. And through the design build process of going through the city building department for permitting, the footing design actually changed and became more robust. So that is a normal part of the business. And so we have a footing design that is designed specifically for the tower that you see up now. So that was the first one. PCO 17 is a soffit that we added in 3 of the bunk rooms because we saw that the structure was exposed and coming in further into the building than we had anticipated, and so we decided to cover that up instead of leaving it exposed. That was a choice that we made because the fire department liked a cleaner look in those bunk rooms. PCO 19 and 23 are actually connected. So the contractor built the compressor room within the apparatus space, and it went full height all the way up to the ceiling. And what we discovered was when the framing developed was that the placement of the window and the closet actually conflicted a little bit. So we asked them to lower the room height, and so with that were a number of changes to the closet framing and to the ventilation that is actually for the compressor that lives in that room. And so those are those two, 19 and 23 together. Change order 21R3 is a supply chain issue. And so the contractor who was supplying the fiberglass insulation asked us very nicely if we would consider helping them to negotiate the extra costs of supply chain difficulties with the product that was specified. And so, but from the time that they bid it to the time that they presented a submittal for us to review and that we had approved it, to the time that they actually went to purchase the materials, the price had significantly increased. And so we reached an agreement where we shared the costs with them. So they absorbed some of the costs, and then the project has absorbed some of the costs for that. The change order number 24R2 is the apparatus bay ceilings and soffits. And so the apparatus bay is a room that has a lot of equipment that is going on, that is in the ceiling, in the walls, and through the building of that room, we found some conflicts with the fire sprinkler lines, the mechanical ducting, and had to make some adjustments to tuck it up even higher so that we eliminated the conflicts with the overhead door. So there's some extra cost for that because as we were moving things around, we also made a decision to hide some of the fire sprinkler lines that were exposed for that clean look. I think it's going to serve the city well in that the less exposed things, the cleaner the room will be and less maintenance potentially. The apparatus bay is also a cooling center. So, you know, when we invite the public in and use that room for that, it's just going to function so much better. So, you know, that was a good move on our part to facilitate that one. And then 25R1 is a small change in the way that we're finishing the wood doors. They were specified to be manufactured or finished at the factory, and through the review process, we found that we wanted the doors to be field painted instead of factory finished. We chose a paint versus a stain, and so that's why that one is a change. So that's the last one.
So council, if you have any questions or comments, we would be happy to address them.
After this change order, what's the money left in the contingency?
Can you discuss a little on the budget side, Candace, and where we stand after this change order?
Sure. So change order number 1 and 2 resulted in $140,938 being used out of the contingency. Change order number 3 is $75,316.40. resulting in a, excuse me here, I need to flip the page. Remaining is 236,179. So we still have quite a bit of money to ride out the project. As you can see from the progress across the street, we're getting close.
Candace, one, because I know the council had requested, given the progress that we've seen since the last time you were here, can you update us more as it pertains on the date that we can shoot for as it pertains to the project completion?
Yeah, actually, I'm expecting a project schedule update for December, and December will actually be the one that we use moving forward as the completion date, and when we have a certificate of occupancy and we do the punch list and all those closing out of the project activities. And so it's going to be spring of 2022, but the exact date I don't have yet. I'm waiting for that update, and so when I have it, I'd be happy to share it with you so that you can share it with the council.
Absolutely. So it seems the first quarter of calendar year 2022 would
Correct.
be a good bet to consider. Okay?
Yeah, Q1.
Yeah, because before then, they said we're in February.
Yeah. So it seems that we're still within that time frame of the first quarter of the calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what I just want to say is that even though we have a very robust, amount still in contingency, I just want to make sure that we keep an eye on those expenses. And I know that, we're sharing, all these costs based on supply chain, based on all these things. But, I think, some of that we just have to go back to the contract. I'm seeing, like, for example, on the footing, on the first item, right? Per design and all these things. So my point to this is that we just have to make sure that we stick to the contract. And that's not to say that we're not. But one of the things that I don't want to see is that, yes, even though we have this money, but let's be very, very frugal, thank you, and also very vigilant, because what I want to see also is that, we can save as much as possible also, because there's some other needs also that we're going to have with the new structure, with the new fire station. And then also, as I have shared with city manager Figueroa, I would like to see that also, this is, I'm going to put on record that hopefully we can also do a fresh coat of paint to the police department, at least to match the color of the building, because the last thing that we would like to see, or at least I would like to see, that we have two separate buildings. I know they're very different in architecture, but at least we consider that, and hopefully we can save as much as possible, or look for some other ways, other funding that we can put that also into consideration.
Understood.
If I may, I have good news for you on that front. Included in the bid and the contractor's work is painting of the exterior on all 3-4 sides of the police station. So that will be done as part of the work.
Thank you, appreciate it. So,
Sure.
And whatever else we can do, but please keep us updated on all these expenditures. And again, I'm gonna keep a stray eye on this right here, and then maybe we can go. Excuse me that I took my mask. We can go line by line. I just want to look at contract versus what we're doing, what we are agreeing on sharing costs. I understand there's an emergency. I know there is a short in supply, but let's make sure that whatever we agree to, that someone can bear that cost. Thank you.
Sureño?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I was just piggyback on what Garcia was saying. Obviously, you don't want to have two buildings that look, all building looks two different buildings, and thank you for clarifying that for us. Also, the landscaping is going to be taken care of, because I go by there occasionally, and I see the trees, palm trees, they're all have been touched. You're going to put some sod there, landscaping, right, is going to include into that.
Yes, the landscape is one of the last pieces to go in because, you know, we need to finish all the pavement or paving first and the site utilities. So that's coming. We were talking about the planting submittal today, as well as the irrigation and all the finishing touches.
All right, curb appeal, I think it's very important for us. Thank you. I don't have anything else. Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
And with that, I move for approval of the change order.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ariola Fernandez. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried 5-0. Thank you.
Okay.
And we have item number 11.
Yes, Mayor. I'll just go ahead and read the subject line. Approve resolution authorizing the application and adoption of the permanent local housing allocation plan for the permanent local housing allocation program. I do want to bring to your attention, this is an item that Planning and Building Services Director Lisa Tailenda had brought to the attention of the City Council in previous meetings. Also at the Planning Commission level, this is an opportunity in which the city, within the resources that we have, we're going after grants. Regardless if they're competitive or non-competitive, over the counter as they call them, or non-over the counter, there are just some items that are really gonna have a heavy weight on a lot of the programs and projects that you're seeing around town. In particular, this one will provide the city some needed resources as we continue to pursue our goal to have a greater housing portfolio for all levels of income in our community, specifically, obviously, making sure that we meet our regional housing needs assessment goals, the RENA numbers, for housing in Calexico. So with that said, this item, as you may have seen to some extent, is also a bridge to item 12. But I do want to point out that specifically for this item, the city is entitled to go up to $500,000 on the non-competitive side of the program. And obviously we're going to go for the full amount. On the non-competitive side, I'm sorry, on the competitive side, we're looking to partner with local groups that want to work with the city, groups that trust the process the city is following now to bring in investment and develop projects. So with that said, at this point right now, with your consideration and approval of item 11, we would be ready to proceed with submittal of the application.
Okay, so you need council approval on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve item number 11 as presented.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Councilwoman was making a motion over the Zoom to approve item 11.
Okay, so I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And does motion carry 5-0? Thank you. And item number 12, adopt resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico approving the intent to collaborate with Imperial Valley Housing Coalition and Spread of Love Sharing Foundation for the potential development of new residential affordable housing project within the City of Calexico.
This is a prime example. Thank you for the introduction, Mayor. This is a prime example of what I alluded to in my previous presentation for item 11. We are now in a position in which we can formally partner with groups. In this case, I do want to call out, we do have in the audience today a representative with us, Mr. Ray Robin, which we've had the pleasure to work with on a very important project that I can consider to be one of the keystone projects as the city moves forward with housing development in town. Let's not forget about the Hollies project, which is the one that Mr. Robin partnered with the city, along with the nonprofit that he also spearheads. So with that said, what we're looking at accomplishing here is continuing that work. But the only way we're going to continue to build credibility with the state of California, as an example, the Housing and Community Development Department, is showing them that at the local level, at the city level, we've already partnered with key agencies, with key individuals that are going to solidify the case for us to continue to go for the monies that are out there. So with that said, what this resolution would do, it would be establishing the intent to collaborate formally with Imperial Valley Housing Coalition and Spread the Love Foundation, so we can proceed to properly plan and schedule our strategy to go after the monies that will bring the projects that we're expecting. What I do want to be clear about also is that in future meetings, we would come and give you detail of the work that has been produced as a result of this collaboration that we're proposing today.
Good. Mr. Robin, you want to say anything? You're fine. If you may.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. So, as Miguel had mentioned, I started a nonprofit called Imperial Valley Housing Coalition. It's not this great new big idea. They do this in a lot of other big cities, you know, and I just kind of mimicked what some of the other ones were doing, and you know, we have for-profit companies too, but we've decided on the affordable housing to grow the nonprofit side of the company that way. It has more of a community benefit, and then instead of like a lot of these, and I think, if I'm wrong, Miguel, tell me, but I think the reason they are choosing to deal with us instead of a lot of these could be larger out-of-town companies is that the majority of them are all for-profit and partner with nonprofits that are outside of our region. And the idea I had, and my family supports me very well, is to our community benefit's going to be to grow the local nonprofit. That way, you know, if we can get that nonprofit to do several deals in Calexico, and you know, I'm working with Mr. Westlake here on multiple deals across the county right now. I have them almost in every city, and if you could make that nonprofit make the kind of money that these other for-profits are making, they can provide the type of community benefit to the communities, such as building rec centers, building, you know, cooling centers. Like, you gotta have money to do those things. They just don't pop up, you know. And so we really like the idea. You know, obviously we work with cities that like to work with us, and so I've had some success on my for-profit things here in town. We've got something coming to you guys on the 5th that just got approved with the Planning Commission for doing market rate single-family homes, you know. And so we're doing all that stuff, and the city shows support and wants to develop, do more Hollies things. I think the Hollies was a very successful thing in the sense of before Home Key, and I think I'm right on this, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but you didn't really see a lot of studio or SRO type micro unit projects, you know, and they almost focus on really large houses, and that's great and all, but those are very expensive. I don't know if you see some of the performance that we have, but these apartments are costing like $300-something thousand, you know. And so I personally really like the idea, and I've presented this concept for your guys' downtown area, will be our downtown area eventually, to create what are called micro units. So not just necessarily SROs and studios, but you know, and all these, some of those units were 400 square feet, and when you go in there, there's a lot of extra space. And I think with the correct design team, you can create units that have a lot more amenities in them in a smaller amount of space, and that allows you, number one, to create units that are cheaper, which allows you to create more units. And I think that, you know, the people across the border, they're very used to that cultural type of living space, you know, so it's not like something that they're going backwards on, you know, and they're very happy to have a really nice space, and it's just not an exuberant. I've spent some time in Idaho. I'm working on an idea to do a modular home factory, because that's where things are heading as labor gets harder and stuff happens. They're actually going to start building houses in factories, even ones, regular houses that are just everywhere, not modular homes, right? And when I was talking with the gentleman, I was telling him about my idea, and he spent a lot of time in a lot of other countries, and he said it's not just Mexico, that the United States has a problem with excess. You know, we have to have everything so darn big, you know, and it's very wasteful. And so I think that things are turning that way as we get to where inflation's going up, costs are going up. We got to be creative on the type of projects that we're bringing in and create very good community benefit projects. And in doing so, do that through the Imperial Valley Housing Coalition so that we can grow that nonprofit to have money within it when the community needs other things. You know, community centers, that toy thing that you did, Chief, that was, hit me up next year, whether you're there or not, I want to donate to that. That was really cool. Yeah, oh, for sure. No, I was involved in the police athletic league when I was kids. We played baseball all the way, and they took us to Florida on traveling teams. So I enjoyed that. That was cool. But you know, the more money we could keep in our community instead of spreading it out to all these other billion-dollar corporations that are taking it everywhere else, we can do better things. And I think that this is just the start of it. What we need this collaboration for is because it takes so much effort, and I actually have to input a lot of money into these projects before we can ever even apply for anything. And so it takes a collaboration between all of us so we can start laying the foundation and the groundwork to where we could even go after the money in the first place, you know. But I think we've had one successful project. I have several more that are coming that are market rate. We just really, I feel that with the momentum that we have right now and the success that we have, if we could keep going to the downtown, we could really create that into something special, especially with the transit center that you guys are working on alongside with the other stuff. I think all of that, you know, comes together, it meshes together and creates a nice synergy of, you know, something that, honestly, you guys could be the poster child for what a downtown should look like, because nobody else in the Imperial Valley has it. Outside of maybe Imperial, they got a little bit, but I don't know if I'd call that a downtown.
Real.
Well, I think it's good, and I think it's going to answer a lot of the demands that we're getting, like from the public comments that we got today, because this is, we're moving forward with these projects, and there's going to be housing available. I know there's housing available, you know, throughout the valley for farm workers and for apartments and very low cost, but I know a lot of them don't want to live in Imperial, they don't want to live in El Centro, you know, they rather stay here locally.
It's not just that. A lot of that low income is low income to a certain AMI, so they have to pay a certain amount. The ones that work like Holly's, that's like people are paying $360 a month, and that's utilities and everything. That really doesn't exist in like even these farm worker housing and all that. They're paying a lot more money than that, and that's why a lot of the bigger developers don't go after like these homeless ones, because they're extremely hard and they're not as like be careful with my words here. They're not as like popular or lucrative or whatever it might be. They're much harder. You're gonna put a lot of people on them, and you know, for instance, one of the things that we're going after the non-competitive PHLA for is to fund our operating reserves for Holly, because I told you guys, you know, give me the shot and we'll try it. And we got it. It's hard, but that's not the end of the road. We have to perform affordability on that project for 55 years. We signed up to that agreement, you know, so we need to proactively be going after every source of money that we can find, especially ones that are non-competitive, because you don't have to compete. You go, you put it in there, and it's guys, we are the poster child for homeless. Nobody has done a true homeless housing except for the city of Calexico and us. And so now what we're doing is just piggybacking on that success and adding into those coffers to make sure that we have the operating reserves to fulfill the commitment for the 55 years that we're doing, you know? So.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any questions?
Just a brief comment. I mean, God bless. Thank you. I think excellent doesn't even begin to describe how good this is for the city of Calexico. The economic observations absolutely on point, and I think we're headed in the right direction on housing for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowan. Very enlightening for you to come here tonight. Thank you very much.
If I may, Councilwoman Romo is making a motion to approve item number 12 over Zoom chat.
Anybody second that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. And then we have actually three items that are on the addendum. Item number 13, approved for public services highlight request for rate increase of 3.7% for commercial and residential solid waste collection services.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, this is an item that's included within the agreement that was approved by the city council, an agreement that we included within the addendum. It's part of the consumer price index. It's part of inflation. As things go up within the contracts for waste management, these elements are included. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we bring this to the City Council so it can be adopted per the binding agreement and we can move forward with implementation. I do want to emphasize and be clear for our community that this is an item in which the City of Calexico is not deciding to just simply increment the cost of the service. It's something that happens due to the economic factors in our economy. And that is also true not only to Calexico, but to every other city, not only in this county and the region, but in this country. So with that said, we bring this before you for consideration.
Okay, any discussion?
Just very brief discussion. Absolutely, this has to happen. It's inflation. It's what's going on with fuel prices and with everything going on. But while we're talking about trash, I think when we have the discussion on the climate plan, we really have to start making a plan as a city on how we're going to reduce waste consumption, right? The only thing that can hold back prices is if we make less trash, and there's many reasons why we have to make less trash, environmental reasons. So hopefully next year we can stop even inflation price increases by having a good solid waste plan in the future. But other than that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilman Ureña, on that point, I think right now, and I'm looking over my Public Works Administrative Manager, because the time has come in which state policies that have been adopted to actually address what you bring up are being mandated for cities.
Yeah.
Not to consider, but to enact on. And for that, we actually have a task force from which we're part of, and we're working along with the other cities to make sure that we figure out the strategies within our limited resources to implement. So,
Excellent, absolutely excellent.
Okay. No, just I want to make sure that, what you said, Miguel, as far as this, it's not an increment, because there were a couple of people that asked me if that was an increment, and I'm glad that you pointed out. It's not, and just like Councilman Ureña alluded, hopefully there's ways that we can reduce, but it's also a contractual obligation, and it just happens, in the economics also. So with that, we just have to make sure that we do our part, whatever that might be. For now, we just have to move forward with what we have on contractual responsibilities. Thank you.
yes, sir.
Anybody else? No? So there's a motion on the floor, Mr. Ureña, to approve item number 13 as presented. Anybody second that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carried 5-0. Moving on to item number 14. Authorize city manager to request for change to 2020/2021 fixed change assessment to City of Calexico Community Facility District number 2005, tax code 92110.
Yes, sir. So we have a request from HIRJ Holdings. In just a brief refresher, as we know, the Hearthstone development, which has a CFD, which is CFD number 2005/1, is the development north of Cole Road. Those are the only homes that are built right on the vicinity of Walmart, just so we can kind of paint a picture. There are 3 parcels that are delinquent in taxes for the reasons that the development never completed in its entirety. So with that said, within those parcels, there are 4 parcels that HIRJ Holdings is requesting for them to be removed from the tax roll so they can actually be developed. And I think nobody is against any type of development. This time around, what we need to do is, as you can see in your backup, is the city request to the property tax manager at the County of Imperial to have these 4 parcels be removed from the fixed charges so we can proceed here at a city level with the project that this company has. With that said, I also want to point out that there is an obligation for the payments to actually be fulfilled and made prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the city. So I do want to say that by no means are these fees going to be condoned. It's just a matter of working with the company so we can fulfill their wish, which is to develop these 4 parcels, so we can move forward with that. And I do want to also point out that there is precedent with this being done by the city of Calexico. It occurred in fiscal year 2013, 2014.
Okay.
At the subdevelopment?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How many parcels were developed back then for? At that time, do you know?
No.
What was
The dollar amount was much more. I'll put things into perspective. The request here, and I'm rounding figure, is $30,000.
Okay.
Back then, it was $718,000.
Wow. Okay. Anything else? Soreña?
And just for the record, this is as this moves forward, it's going to be vetted and it's going to go through the process of the planning commission, like any other project does through its
Okay.
entitlement process.
Good.
So with these parcels, 4 parcels, how many will be left? I know this is the backup, but how many will be
19, sir.
19. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Ureña. Second? Second. Second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carried. And we got the last item, local appointments list 2022 in conformance with the Mariac.
Yes, sir. Standard item, as you can see, it's an informational item. We need to report to you that we're going to be providing the government, the state government, and the federal government the list of those members that make up the city council and each commission. It's a government code that we must oblige by and comply with. So basically, it's an item that we do on an annual basis, and it's presented to you by our city clerk.
Okay, just an information, matter of formality, right? No voting on it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, future item, agenda items.
I do want to point out that Mayor and the rest of the council, that our first regular meeting for calendar year 2022 is going to be January 19th. So just factor in that our first regular meeting will take place on that date.
Okay. So we'll start over here, Mr. Ureña, for item for future agenda.
I just had one. I was very concerned about the woman that complained about the semi-trucks. Do we have an ordinance on that particular street for semi-trucks? Is that something that we can adopt so we can ban semi-trucks on that street?
So that is actually something that our public works manager, our police chief, and I have been discussing. We appreciate them coming and sharing this, but it's actually something that we've already been started to work on. There are certain things that we can move forward as it pertains to signage. So those items are things that we're looking at internally to address it, because we've heard the message loud and clear about that part of the city and having those issues.
So there is an ordinance?
Yes, sir, yes.
And just to assure you on that, because I've been speaking to them since the summer, those 3 ladies I've been speaking, just to assure you that we've done some, and we have time, I can brief you on later on. But yeah, I've been talking to them. They come in on a regular basis, and we address it with the chief of police on it.
I think what would be beneficial for us to make sure that it doesn't stay as a public comment is that we come back and conduct a brief presentation as to what staff has done to address the issue.
Yes, sounds good. And I think we could integrate what Police Chief Gerardo was going to do with the school safety plan and the road safety plan. Just put it all together, and that's something we just need to address. And that'll be everything.
Okay, that's it? Thank you. Mr. Garcia?
I just want to add more to that also. I know that it is my understanding that also Imperial Avenue, I know we're waiting for Caltrans to get back to us also to make sure that, I think that we're going to paint that, sidewalks to make sure that they time the time that people can park so they can be enforcement. And it's not that I don't want, any parking there, but I think also it's detrimental because we know that we have a lot of traffic, and people park, not just to conduct business there, but park overnight. But I don't think without any type of marking clear marking, clear direction, we cannot do any enforcement. And more than enforcement, I think it's safety. It's safety, and I don't think it's something that we're doing something good to the the business around there. So we can look into that. I know that the semis, they're all lower, and yeah, they're great. It's part of our daily lives, that they bring, goods and services. But I think throughout the city, we do have an issue of parking, in residential areas. There's some semis there, that park, and I think our streets are not made for that, but besides that, also we go back to safety. I think safety is by far the most important concern here. Not so much, what we were talking about, not so much enforcement or punishment, but prevention and a good strategy. So if we can just look at all of that in a, holistic and comprehensive, item, that we can come back, and maybe we have to go back and, set some sort of, ordinance, or maybe even talking to Caltrans in different issues. We just had the gentleman here also commenting about his business, and all those businesses on all the street. I can't just imagine that the hardship that they're going through, but we understand it's part of growing, as a city. But something that we can do, maybe to help alleviate some of that. So hopefully something comprehensive back to us.
Yes,
as
sir.
a reporting action.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Sorella? Future item, yeah?
I don't have anything.
No. Mrs. Romo, you have anything for future agenda items? Mrs. Romo, you there? No, okay. And just to add to your list, maybe we do have those feet humps we've been trying to install back in Kelly Gardens. Maybe we can add to the list to report next time.
Yeah,
What's the process?
yes, we'll definitely do that, but I'll just say that the contractor is already getting ready to move forward on that, but we'll include it as part of our report.
Okay. That's all I have.
One more thing, happy holidays,
Yes.
I think
Oh, yeah.
to all, so
Merry
be safe,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, so, so, be safe.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve, to adjourn the meeting at 8:55.
Second.
Second, Mr. Reña, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Right.
Meeting adjourned.